Morning, everybody. Welcome back. I'm just going to type my usual hi, everyone. Welcome back. Well, here we are. It is Tuesday, October the 8th, and I'm here in Ottawa, which is New York City time. And probably like everybody, I'm watching the weather forecast for Florida. We have so many people down there, and so many great friends, and so many incredible memories down there. So all I want to say is be careful. All I want to say is err in the side of caution. Go with safe rather than sorry. Do the best thing you can to find the safest place you can with people, and keep leaning in, keep breathing, keep leaning in. It's a bad storm, and a lot of us have ridden out some very bad storms, whether they're physical or emotional or strategic. And so we know that survival is imminent. Survival begins right after it hits. And what I want to talk about today on this particular video, episode 295, can you believe it? 295 of these twice weekly episodes. And it's incredible. It's because of you. It's because you decided to watch. You decided you wanted to join me on this journey. And because if I'd had nobody watching, I would have gone and done something else. Maybe clean the house. Who knows? So where I want to begin today is for all of us who are suddenly realizing that somebody we know is maybe struggling. Somebody we know is doing their best and it's not working. And the people that they love and respect and care about don't seem to be understanding. And it's frustrating and it's disconcerting. It's confusing. It's a little like my old dog when he would jump up on the waterbed and have no idea why all of a sudden the ground wasn't solid beneath his paws. Poor thing. And so what I want to talk about today is this function that happens all the time. And oh, by the way, you know what? I'm kind of ahead of myself. Before I jump in on it, I want to say to people who might be watching for the first time, the reason I'm doing these videos, you see Mom over there in the corner? So that's what I used to do. That's what I used to do that everybody knew about. And if you can see beside Mom, there's a picture of some Care Bears. And that's what I used to do as well. And a lot of people in a lot of far-flung places used to really enjoy watching that. And all of a sudden they've stumbled on me and they said, oh my goodness, there she is. So what I'm building is a tribe. I'm building a connection community where we talk about the struggles, and I help provide Abby Mom instincts and insights and ideas and techniques that can make shifting and leaning in exciting, as opposed to confusing, exhausting, and terrifying. I am showing you all how I put the positive spin, the excited spin, the curious spin on every single obstacle that came in my path. And it's worked clearly because here I am. And that's why I want to share it with you. I want us all to have a little better quality of life. And this, as far as I'm concerned, is the best way to do it. Good morning, Freddie. It's nice to see you. So having said that, and by the way, I'm streaming simultaneously on Facebook and YouTube. And then I'll be posting, as soon as I'm done, I'll be posting on LinkedIn. So those are my three go-to platforms. So the conversation today is, what if what we do is not what they see? What if, right? What if every time we say to ourselves, there's an idea, and we take action, what if somebody says, what do you think you're doing? I get that a lot. What are you doing? What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? And when they ask that question, what do you think you're doing? The implication is because whatever it is you're thinking, that's not what's happening. And And we all have had that happen. We've all had people question our intention and our actions and our purpose a lot, all the time, all through our lives. Sometimes it's just people with nothing better to do. More often, it's somebody who is surprised by a decision we've made and they are uncomfortable with it and they want to find out what's going on. And when they say, "What do you think you're doing?" it's not a function of how dumb we are. It's actually them registering their surprise at what we're doing because it wasn't something they expected. It wasn't something they saw coming. And it's confusing. It's like my poor dog on the waterbed. What's going on? What's going on? So our inclination is to justify what we're doing without explaining what we're doing. What do you think you're doing feels like an attack. So our response is, what do you mean? That's not the answer to the question. It is the answer to the attack. What do you think you're doing? Why would you ask me a question like that? It has nothing to do with what's going on. It has everything to do with somebody poking and us poking back. And it's not helpful because it doesn't address the confusion. So I have a hack and I want to explain it to you because it's really, it's almost everything, not everything, but almost everything. So somebody says, "Hey, what do you think you're doing? What are you doing?" The answer is, "Oh, I'm so glad you asked." And then say nothing. Oh is relief. "I'm so glad you asked." Encouragement, gratitude, and then say nothing. And do nothing. Because now they must say something else. And, well, good morning. Grand Rising Abby. Is this my new title? I prefer Elegant Valkyrie Abby if I get my own title, Grand Rising. So when somebody says, "What do you think you're doing?" your answer is, "Oh, I'm so glad you asked." And then smile. And now they have to ask you again, or they have to thank you, or if they're still feeling threatened by something, they're going to tell you why they're upset. "Oh, I'm so glad you asked." "Well, I mean, I can't, blah, 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 blah," but whatever it is they say. And you nod and you smile and you say, right, right, right. Okay, yeah. So what do you suggest? "Oh, I'm so glad you asked." Period. Smile, wait. They will tell you more stuff. Your next sentence is, "So what do you suggest?" And allow them to tell you. Allow them to tell you. If you have a notebook with you, take notes. And when they're done telling you, thank them. "This is great. Thank you. Thank you." And that's it. Whatever they say after that is not what this is about. If they say, "What do you think you're doing?" and you say, "I'm so glad you asked," and you smile, and then they justify asking the question, and you say, "So what do you suggest?" and you look eager, you don't say, and you are eager. You are eager. They are offering insight and input. Fine then. I'm all ears. Let's hear it. Let me get out my notebook. And when they tell you what they want you to know, you thank them. "This is great. Thank you." That's it. "Well, are you going to do it?" "I am." "When?" "As soon as I have a minute." "Thank you. This is great. Thank you." And then after that, you have choices. And this is the important thing that we all forget when we feel accosted, threatened, second guessed. You need to read what you wrote down. You need to hear what they said. You need to pay attention to the fact that there might be a message in it. Why? Because we can't see what other people see. We can't know what other people know. And the reason that we value our connections to each other is because there is not only safety in numbers, there is strength. Strength when we connect, when we discuss, when we collaborate, when we choose a path that is parallel and supportive. If what they said has merit, great. Then they provided information to you that you didn't need to learn. You didn't need to go through a learning curve. They went through the curve for you. If they give you that information because they care, all right then, act on it. And if it helps, thank them next time. That was a great idea you had. I implemented some of it. And the person feels valued, heard, seen, and essential. We all need to feel essential all the time. It's how we feel safe. We are puny humans. Our strength is in the connection we have to each other. Always. Taking direction from others, evaluate input into action. Exactly. You don't take the direction simply because they give it, because they could be lost. They could be delusional. It's been known to happen. But you can certainly listen to the information. You can certainly make note of the information. You can certainly then, as Freddie says, evaluate it, consider it, weigh it, look it up, and then take action. One way, another, or another. Yes, no, maybe. When someone says, "What do you think you're doing?" it is a signal that what you're doing has confused them. They know you well enough to say, "What do you think you're doing?" You, if you pay attention, you can tell that they're confused. And you say, "Oh, I'm so glad you asked." Why? Because they feel less confused. They feel valued. And they feel as though their instinct, their intuition was correct. There was something unusual about this. Maybe it's just new. And now you've established a connection. The most important thing is the connection, because the connection allows us to leverage the other person's knowledge. There's two ways to learn things. One is to head into the learning curve, lean into the hairpin turns. The other is to know somebody who has already done that and shares the information with you. And if you pay attention and you say, "How does that apply here?" and figure that out, you've just saved a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of trouble. But Freddie's very correct. When somebody tells you something, you need to evaluate it. You don't just say, "Oh, okay," and do it. Everybody else is doing it. You need to evaluate it. Is there something in it for me specifically? Is the information correct? And I had a wonderful conversation the other day with my friend Susan, who did not know that there is a rule on the books worldwide that punishes people when they take a certain action. And the punishment can be huge. She had no idea. And I said, "Are you aware of this?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, this is the rule. Here's the statute, here's the law." And I sent her a link. And she said, "I know a lot of people who are doing it anyway." And I said, "Then they are breaking the law." "Well, what if they're really smart and they're really clever?" And I said, "Then they don't know the law, or they've chosen to ignore the law, thinking that, oh, well, I'll take my chances." You can do that too if you like. However, if it's against the law, if it's against a rule and the penalty is severe, why would you? Why would you not say, "Oh boy, dodged a big one"? So we had that conversation. Why would I know it and she didn't? Well, because I've been doing this for a very long time and she's coming into this newly. There's so many things to learn when you get into a new career path. There's so many things to learn when you move to a new town. There's so many things to learn when you go to a new school. All the stuff we knew before is helpful, but it may not be helpful now. So when somebody says, "What do you think you're doing?" you should be grateful that they asked, because you might have been about to step off a cliff. What do you think you're doing? And that way, breaking the law. Breaking the law is sometimes just a bunch of people getting together and saying, we've decided it's this way. And there's small, simple ways, as Freddie says, there's small, simple ways that we can break the law that are relatively harmless. No white shoes after Labor Day. Okay, so the fashion police. Okay, we can choose to break that law because it's more of a rule. It's more of a, what would it be? It's more of a decision, an intention for people to move into another set of clothing because the fashion industry would like you to buy more clothes. However, if one of the breaking laws is we've decided, we've done studies, we've looked at accident reports, and it appears that something like a collision, something like a car rolling over, something like loose gravel on a motorcycle, something like high winds, heavy rain, mist coming off other vehicles becomes more dangerous to us at this speed as opposed to that speed. So we're going to put up a sign that says, this is the speed limit for safety. And we would like you all to follow along so that we have fewer wet spots to clean up on the highway. We have fewer people to chase off in ambulances to hospitals. We would like fewer very, very unhappy phone calls to worried family and friends and loved ones. We have done the studies. Have you? So if you see somebody going hell-bent for election down the highway in very crazy conditions, and you have the ability, not you personally, but the authorities have the ability to pull them over and say, do you have any idea how fast you were going? Yeah? Okay. Do you understand why that is not okay? No? All right then. We do. That's why we put up the sign. One of the things, speaking of licenses and speaking of rules, that is very, very important, that is kind of a segue on this, but not so much. We get licenses for things. We are required to have licenses to do a lot of things. We are required to prove that we're qualified to do things. And once we have the license, we have permission to operate. It doesn't mean we are now in charge. It means that the governing body allows us to operate as long as we follow the rules. As soon as we break the rules, they will take away our permission to operate because they are the authority and we are a person who wants to operate under that authority. If we choose not to agree to the rules and we choose to argue, then we get to go to a place to discuss it in front of legal authorities. We all have the right to be heard. We all have the right to try it our way. What we don't have, and this is why it's so important, especially when we suddenly find ourselves faced with something very, very serious and significant, which is, for example, a hurricane that is going to impact millions of people, is this very, very old saying: the freedom to swing your fist, the freedom to do whatever you want, stops at the other guy's nose. The freedom to swing your fist, the freedom to swing your arm, is not unconditional. Unless you're a hermit, unless you're the only person on the island. As soon as you are around other people, the agreement, unspoken, is that we will consider other people. We will consider ripple effects. Why? Because people do not see what we are doing. They see what they see. They hear what they hear. And many people make assumptions. If this person says it, it must be true. I'll do it too. And now you have two people who are making a mistake, two people who are getting it wrong. And if the second and the third and the fourth and the 43rd person say, oh, that looks like a good idea, then they're all doing it wrong and no one checked. No one asked if that was actually how it's done, if there was a purpose behind it, or it was a random, I wonder what'll happen when I do this. So in these times when there are things at stake, and there are always things at stake, in these times when there are things at stake, it's important to remember that what we do is not what people see. Our purpose in doing it is not in their head. They aren't thinking what we're thinking. They're thinking their thoughts. They have their priorities. They have their goals. And if we take action without considering consequences, we can accidentally, unintentionally do damage that we didn't mean to incur. This looks like a good idea. From where I'm standing, this looks like a great idea. I'm going to give it a try. Did you look around the corner to see if there was, did you look behind you to see if, no, I just decided to go with my gut. I'm driving along behind a slow truck. I've decided to pull out and pass. Did you check to see if there's a car coming? No. Why would there be a car coming? Did you check to see if somebody behind you is about to pass? No. Why not? I don't know. I wasn't thinking about it. I was only thinking about me. Oh, so if the passenger says, what do you think you're doing? It's a blind curve up ahead. Oh, gosh, I'm so glad you said so. I'm so glad you pointed that out. What do you think I should do? Well, I think you should wait. Okay, but we've been behind this truck for hours. Okay, I still think you should wait. It's a blind curve up ahead. What if there's another truck coming this way? Oh, yeah, good point. Safety in numbers. Safety in more than one point of view. Safety in understanding that there's all kinds of reasons a person will stop you and say, what do you think you're doing? Some of them are just because they're nosy. Some of them are just because they're nervous and are anxious, and what you seem to be planning is unsettling to them. But some of them actually know what happens when that action is taken. And you know how long it takes to say, oh, I'm so glad. What do you think I should do? Why do you ask? And then write it down. If you can't write it down, listen. If you forget, ask them to repeat it. Because the learning curve has hairpin turns. And how wonderful if someone can help you through it, right? How wonderful if someone who has been there first says, it's a really tricky bit up ahead right after the hairpin turn. You need to slow down. You'll wish you had slowed down. Oh my God, thanks. I was about to channel my famous race car impression and go around it as fast as I could. Yeah, that's what I thought. Every single time we get an instinct of some kind, we get one of two kinds of instincts. We get excitement and we get uncertainty. We get a kind of a, I don't know. And we also get, Those aren't reasons to act. Those are the body, this part, the part with the memory, the survivor brain. And both of those are warning signs. Some of them are positive. Some of them are not. When you feel the thrill, the rush, or the hesitation and the pull back, you're being sent a wait a minute message. You're being sent a yellow caution flag. You're being shown one of those diamond-shaped signs with a sharp curve on it, a sharp arrow on it, an arrow with a divider on it. Whether it's an adrenaline rush or it's a pulling back, it's a sign that you need to think twice. It's the little voice saying, what do you think you're doing? Because if you don't know, you might want to think a minute. You might want to reconsider the why and the what's in it for me. Today, now. That's what's in it for me in the big picture. I'm free to be. What's in it for me right now in this moment? Do I have a frisson? Do I have a, do I have a, both of those are warning signs. Both of those are our inner voice saying, what do you think you're doing? And you know what? It's a split second to stop and say, oh, I'm so glad you asked. What do you advise? And then wait and listen. Wait and listen. There are two reasons that people advise. There are two reasons that people reach out. The two reasons that people do that with us, to us, for us, is to maintain safety in the tribe. If the people who are cautionary and the people who are nervous and the people who are typically anxious are doing it, it's because they are concerned for them, because their status quo is being rocked. If they are typically people who are generous and positive and helpful and wise, they are doing it because you might be unsafe. You might be making an error that you will regret. What do you think you're doing? When you hear that voice, when you feel that either frisson or that pullback, give yourself permission to think about that question and answer it. Who is it for? What does it do? Why does it feel like the right thing? Listen to your answers. The number one thing we all want is to grow and thrive and prosper. We want to feel safe. We want to feel connected. We want to feel cared for and essential. That's a togetherness conversation. Even for innovative entrepreneur rebels like me. I'm reaching out and I'm connecting with you guys all the time to make sure we're in sync, to make sure we got this. Why? Safety in numbers. Connection. Essential. Compassion. Collaboration. So, the story today is about thinking clearly before we spontaneously jump. Think clearly before spontaneously jump. Not excitement act, but look both ways. Look this way, look in the rearview mirror, see if you can look up ahead. The people who are going to be impacted by the approaching storm are doing the best they can with what they have, or they're not. And if they're not, then the tragedy is not caring, not thinking, not looking, not considering isn't just going to impact them. It's going to impact other people. And sadly, That is a path we are all on. It is the lesson we are learning every day. We get to choose how we live. I have this conversation with most of my clients who get frustrated by family and friends who are kind of nervous about the changes they're making. And I always say to them, one of my favorite Bugs Bunny cartoons was with him and the Tasmanian devil. And instead of trying to fight the devil who was heading for his house, Bugs opens the front door and then casually walks and opens the back door, and the Tasmanian devil just spins all the way through. And then Bugs closes the door and goes back to what he was doing. If people are on a self-destruct path, no matter how much we love them, it's the path they've chosen. If we stand in their way, it will be their decision whether they stop or keep going. We love them. We want to help. At the end of the day, it's their path and their decision. When people say, "What do you think you're doing?" maybe that's a yellow sign. And instead of defending, why not take a moment and say, "I'm so glad you asked." Let them respond. What do you have in mind? What do you suggest? Give them the opening, the opportunity, and then thank them. What does that do? It creates a connection. If you choose to continue to do what you were doing, that's fine. It's yours to own. It's not theirs to own. But at least you gave them a chance to be heard. And you gave yourself an opportunity to listen and learn and take fewer steps through your learning curve. Gosh, I hope everyone stays safe these coming days. It's going to be messy. It's going to be heartbreaking. It's going to be a lot of work. So keep taking the deep breaths, everyone. There's a friend of mine on Facebook who is battling a terrible, terrible health issue. And her posts have been, "I'm really trying hard to." And I messaged her and I said, "You know, you don't need to push yourself. Just stop saying, 'I'm really trying hard to.' Take those words out and just say, 'I'm doing.' And whatever it is you are doing is your best." And she said, "Oh, well, that's simpler, isn't it?" And I said, yeah. We are all doing our best. We all need advice. We all need to stop and think. And when someone offers, it's wonderful to thank them and listen. Okay, kids. Okay, lovelies. Be good to you. Be really good to you this week. You deserve it. Be careful. Be safe. Remember to hug your loved ones. And if there's any opportunity you have to help in a tangible way, it's lovely to say prayers. It's lovely to say, we are thinking of you. It's also lovely to be able to go to a collection center and drop off stuff that is going to be sent to the place where it's needed. It's really good to take tangible action. And if you can, if you have the resources, you might give it a try. And I will see you on Thursday with another installment that I think you're really going to like. I really hope so. I think it's kind of cool. All right. So until then, remember, we are at this was episode 295. You and I are on this incredible journey together. And I am just I'm just delighted. What do I think I'm doing? I think I'm building a tribe of amazing people. That's what I think I'm doing. And I'm really glad that you're part of it. Okay. Well, good morning, Kelly. Just before I go, how wonderful to see you. I'm so glad you joined. Have a great day, and I will see you on Thursday. All right.